is my,
You got me. You got me with that one. I think you may need to do some splotches. No.
It's been recording this whole time. I'm terrible.
Has it?
Yeah.
Oh. You can speed that up. Put it as your intro.
Yeah, true.
With some royalty-free music.
Can you check this framing? That it looks good. That makes me look beautiful. Eating the key dish in here. This is a key dish that I got that my friend's grandma made.
That's really cute.
This video is sponsored by this key dish that my friend's grandma made.
All your notes.
It's not a lot of notes. If I can log into my Goodreads, I can probably find my full review. Don't judge me for mostly using Goodreads. Are we friends on Goodreads?
I don't think so.
So you don't like me?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. You're not going to come up. Do you have it linked in any, like, bio or anything?
I don't think so. I should fix that.
Girl. Ali Hazelwood has to cancel all of her UK events. No.
I've never read one of her books. What? Admittedly. I know she's good. She did the...
She's like one of my comfort authors.
Beast. Bride.
Yeah, Bride.
That's close.
Bride about the beasts. About not, to be completely honest. Speaking of a little lower bump.
Welcome to Ink Spill. It's like tea spill, but for books.
Ta-da!
Today, we're talking about a book that we both have read.
Yes, we have.
At least most of within the past month or so.
Yeah.
By the name Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I used my own hand to write that. Spinning Silver is a 480-page book, or 16 hours and...
480?
Uh-huh.
Only?
Uh-huh.
How small was the text?
Or 16 hours and 10 minutes in audio form.
Yeah.
Which feels more accurate.
Yeah.
Here's the part that got me, and I feel like I've gaslit myself.
Uh-huh.
Published July 2018.
What feels like this book came out in, like, the early 2000s?
100%. Like,
just vibe-wise.
I swear to God, and I mean this so honestly, I feel like when I was in high school, because I graduated in 2015, I swear to God, I saw it on our library walls, and I saw it when I was in high school.
I didn't. I never registered it. I only found out about this book, like, a month ago. But the way that it was written, the vibes, the cover...
It's giving 2012.
It's giving... I was even going to go further and say, like, 2008.
Fair enough. It's one or the other. It is definitely a post-Twilight book. It's either a pre-Twilight or a significantly post-Twilight book. Like, it
feels like...
Twilight came out...
Yeah, I feel like
the first Twilight movie was 2008, damn.
Well, I was on it with the date. It does feel like it was like a pre dystopian era.
No, Twilight was published in 2005, and I'm honestly surprised by that. I thought it was later.
Well, I feel like also, like, the original movie, like, the first movie was, like, indie. I feel like I forget because it got so big, but I'm pretty sure it was, like, considered, like, an indie film.
I've got the Google up.
I mean, like, I don't know if it was, like...
Twilight an indie film?
Actually indie?
I mean, it looked like
by
it.
definition?
Technically, no.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, damn. It's backed by Summit Entertainment.
I feel like I can, like, picture the Summit logo in my head.
Yeah, it's like a mountain.
Mm-hmm. It's white? Yeah. It's like a negative space mountain.
Yeah,
and like
crazy
a white
for something that's called Summit. I finished it. The exact day that I finished it was March 22nd, and I rated it 5 out of 5 stars.
Okay, I DNF'd it. But I DNF'd it at 88%. And I DNF'd it, I think, on the 27th. Let me double check. The 27th. So just a couple days after.
Like a week. That's like 5 days later. It's like a week.
Yeah. Yes. I DNF'd it at 84% on the 27th of March. So a couple days after you.
Yeah, you posted an entire Instagram story of like, chat, do I keep going?
I did. And everybody responded saying no.
See, okay.
You responded saying no.
I responded saying no because if you're not enjoying it and you're that far in,
well, that's why
always DNF it.
Yeah, I had a couple of people that responded saying no. I think just like people right now in the book community are very much pro DNF.
I think 100%. Because
there's time for other shit.
There is. Just something
that looks like maybe a bit of cork.
I think it is a bit of cork. Probably from this or from the bottom of a thing. Fiber.
Yeah. So I had a couple people respond saying yes, DNF, mostly due to the fact that
if you're not enjoying
just pro DNF, if you're not into it, just put it down.
Did anyone say yes, DNF because it sucks?
Yes. I had one person who we have very similar taste, and we've actually buddy read a fantasy before, where both of us were like, it's interesting, like, as a concept, but the way that it was executed is just a little bit boring. And we both decided to not read the second book in the series. So
Uprooted? Uprooted, I think is what it's called.
No, completely different series. We just, we buddy read something together, so we have very similar taste in fantasy.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So she responded to that. She was the only one who responded who had actually read the book and responded based on the book itself. And she responded pretty much having the same opinion as me, that she just, like, she also couldn't get into the story and didn't find it very engaging in the same way I didn't find it engaging, and she also struggled with the POV changes in the same way that I struggled with the POV changes.
Yeah, they're not. I mean,
didn't as much as I did. I found it,
I could handle it.
Yeah, I found the POV changes distracting.
Hear me out. Because that is a key point. That's something that should be noted. Not having a physical copy of it and not being able to see how it's written, I bet it's way worse in a written format. So
I also had the ebook format,
and
I tried switching from audiobook to ebook because I was having such a problem with the POV changes. Yeah. I feel like we should explain the POV changes.
Oh, so God, sorry.
The book.
Should we do a summary of the book?
You start with the summary of the book, and then I'll explain the POV changes.
I'm gonna find exactly what the summary is. I did pull it up, and I just kind of forgot to actually read it out loud.
Okay. I was like, we've not given any context at all.
We started, and then got distracted.
Yeah.
Spinning Silver draws readers deeper into a glittering realm of fantasy where the boundary between wonder and terror is thinner than a breath, and safety can be stolen as quickly as a kiss. Miriam is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenders, but her father's inability to collect his debts has left his family on the edge of poverty. He's a bad banker. He's just genuinely a really bad banker.
Just bad at his job.
He's just not good at his job.
Bad at his job.
Too nice.
He is a people pleaser to the point where he is hurting other people.
Straight up. Until Miriam takes matters into her own hands, hardening her heart. The young woman sets out to claim what is owed and soon gained a reputation for being able to turn silver into gold. Valid, it's true. When an ill-advised boast draws the attention of the king of the static, grim fey creatures who seem more ice than flesh, Miriam's fate and that of two kingdoms will be forever altered. Set an impossible challenge by the nameless king, Miriam unwittingly spins a web that draws in a peasant girl, Wanda, and the unhappy daughter of a local lord, who plots to wed his child to the dashing young Tsar. But Tsar I haven't actually read it. Mirnatius?
Where?
Mirnatius. I think how they pronounced it.
I don't know if they ever said his name. He was only referred to as the Tsar.
Yeah.
But the
Tsar is not what he seems, and the secret he hides threatens to consume the lands of humans and static alike. Torn between deadly choices, Miriam and her two unlikely allies embark on a desperate quest that will take them to the limit of sacrifice, power, and love. Channeling the vibrant heart of myth and fairy tales, Spinning Silver weaves a multi-layered magical tapestry that readers will want to return to again and again. It has a rating of 4.19 on Goodreads.
That's impressive.
With 20,000 reviews.
That's impressive.
And 114,000 ratings.
So, maybe I'm wrong.
So, here's the thing.
So, the POVs.
There are three.
It starts with
one main character.
Miriam. Turns into two POVs.
Wanda.
Then turns into three.
And then also 4.
I know. Then sticks at 3 for a good chunk of the book.
And then
very quickly turns into 6 POVs.
Yeah, it was 6.
Yeah, it turns into 6 POVs. At no point, audio or physically, does it ever tell you whose POV you're in.
There's no, like, chapter 3 Miriam.
There's
no, like, chapter 12 Wanda.
Nope. It also has multiple POVs in every chapter. So...
Yeah, I also I forget how long the chapters are. Because it feels like every POV change should be a chapter change.
It's not. It's multiple POV changes within chapters. So in the actual book, there is, like, a little, like, page break with, like, a symbol on it when there's a POV break. So you at least know.
You get a visual cue.
Yeah, you get a visual cue. It doesn't tell you who it is. I mean, it takes a couple of sentences usually about a paragraph to figure out whose POV you're in. But you also have to then remember whose POV it is. And also, all of these characters are all intertwined. So you're often reading similar stories.
The POVs are POVing.
They are.
Admittedly, I think that's why the audiobook format does make it easier. I bet tandem reading is probably the easiest way.
Probably.
Because the narrator does try to... She tries to give a literal, slightly different voice to each character. Sometimes it succeeds more than others with certain characters, like Miriam versus Wanda. Those are 2 different voices. That works well. Any of the girls versus... Like, one of the major POVs in the last, like, quarter of the book is Wanda's little brother, who's a snot-nosed little kid. Steppen. Mm-hmm. And so he, by nature of that, has a wildly different voice than the other, both because of how he's written, as just a much more childlike way, and she makes a much more concerted effort to, like, clip her words in certain ways. That being said, like, the Lord's daughter, whose name I can't even remember, and Miriam, they sound identical.
So this is where we disagree a bit.
Yeah.
Where I think we've also spoken about this, where I think the narrator does a horrific job.
I think she tried.
I think that, like, because, like, I feel like, other than, like, the voice of Steppen, which I feel like that was one of the only, like, very unique voices, I feel like all the other voices range from the same accent, which, like, sure, in reality makes sense, but usually is not how audiobooks are done.
No.
But from the same accent from, like, 10% to, like, 90%.
Yeah.
So there was no, like, large voice changes that I was hearing. It was mostly like, oh, is this a light accent or a medium accent? And that's how you were meant to figure, like, to differentiate between the characters.
If I was able to, I would play, I would edit in, like, a clip of the examples.
Chapter 1. Moneylender and borrows for a ring and a necklace and decks herself out for the festival. Get money for a new plow or to buy some pigs or a milch cow. But I was his only child old enough to bother with yet. I did not want to wake up, but I thought I heard Mama calling me in a voice that sounded like a bell ringing. By high magic, I'm going to close this mountain crack now and shut you out for good.
I don't know if I'll be able to do that. That being said, I feel like when she did a good example. When she did Miriam, this is her voice. She's doing, it's a little bit musical, going blah, 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 blah. When she did Wanda, it was, I have a firmer tone of voice. I am more, like, it's more monotone. This is someone who is not well-read. This is someone who did not know how to read or do numbers. I'm an abused, quiet girl who has been trod upon. Versus, I'm a little bit more airy and I've been blah, 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 blah. I picked up on that. I also I think it would have benefited if they had, like, 3 voice actors.
I mean, yes, I agree. I think different voice actors would have been better. I feel like I feel
like 2 voice actors.
I listen to so many audiobooks that, like, I'm used to people, like, or I'm used to audiobook narrators that, like, every character has a wildly different voice, their own voice, even like within dialogue, even if it's just like one POV the whole time, like, every character has their own voice. So I found it, like, very distracting. So, like, each POV was done in, you know, that character's voice, but then within that POV, like, in dialogue, there was rarely like a change of voice, except for maybe when she was voicing, like, the demon, like the fire
she did
demon, which
I hated.
I hated her fire demon voice.
Never is mine a well for me.
sounded like she
bad.
was doing a imitation of Gollum.
Yeah, it was her fire demon voice grated the same way men trying to do female voices grated.
Yeah.
I was not a fan.
Let's be so freaking, let's be so clear. I think this is partially a taste thing, and I think that, you can make arguments one way or the other. Her choices for how let me just, from the book Mindset, which I have not read. There is a strong message in our society about how to boost children's
a little breathier, a little back in your throat.
How to boost children's self-esteem is roughly how it sounded.
Yeah, exactly. It was hard to listen to.
Admittedly, gives fire demon.
True. Yes.
Say what you want. It's giving fire demon.
It did give fire demon. Yes, she was in fact giving fire demon.
So here's also with that. There's a fire demon involved. You have key aspects of this entire book is one, Jewish people, as a concept, is it a huge just culture and the inherent difficulties in the Jewish community. I say this as someone who is Gentile and I can't really speak heavily to it, obviously, but it's set in Russia.
Don't know. It's set
fantasy Russia. Call it fantasy Russia.
Yeah.
It's set in fantasy Russia. It's got a czar. Who else has those? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. It's set in fantasy Russia. And so when it says that Miriam's father's a moneylender, this is true. She comes from a Jewish family. It is a huge aspect of her story is the fact that
it's a very large plot point, yes.
It is a huge plot point that she is Jewish, that they are treated differently because they are Jewish. If I remember correctly, there were entire parts of society that were cut off to Jewish people. You were only allowed to do certain jobs. And which a major one included money lending, which is why there's this whole anti-Semitic stereotype about Jewish people being bankers, because it derives from a time period, which I could be entirely wrong, and I'll double check myself later, but that is a huge part of it. Her grandfather is a very successful moneylender. She comes from a family where there's jewelers and nonsense, but it's all, you can very much tell, it's a very specific kind of work. None of them are farmers. None of them own their land. It's called out at the very end. I don't know if you got that far, where oh no, you definitely didn't, because this was near the very end, but their house that Miriam lives in, that Wanda comes and stays at and all this nonsense, at the end they call out we'll have to tell our landlord that we're leaving.
Yes, I think I was just around that time. Yes.
Yeah, it is a baked-in aspect of the way that she views the world, the way that she interacts with other people is very firmly rooted in the fact that she is Jewish and therefore at risk most of the time, versus her, Wanda, who is, she's the daughter of one of the guys that her father lent money to, and he's terrible, horribly abusive, drunk farmer on a poor land, beats his kids constantly, gets his wife pregnant enough times that they bury them all under this one tree, which ends up becoming a plot point. The fact that it's that one tree. It almost gives Cinderella for a moment, if you've read the original Cinderella fairy tale, where, Wanda goes to this tree where all of her dead siblings, not all, 2 of them are alive, several of her dead siblings and her mother are buried under this tree. And she asks for her mother's blessing. She asks for her mother's guidance. And having read, the original Cinderella fairy tale, I was oh, this fairy tale. I see this. And for me, that happened constantly. There were several moments where I was reading it where I was oh, this is very much, the way that the Stark King... Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Continue with the summary. She essentially steps up and, begins doing her father's job because he sucks. That's part of the plot point. This means that she goes to get the debt back from this one farmer. He cannot pay it because he's terrible, so she instead goes, okay, give me your daughter then. She will come work in my house, and her wages, she's an indentured servant now. It works. And this goes on, and she goes off to, like, the big city and, like, visits her grandfather. In doing so, she comes into contact with one of her cousins who's marrying a jeweler. This is important later. And the thing is, between the city and their small town, they have to ride through the woods where there is occasionally this glittering path of ice in this increasingly dark and harsh winter. And they never really phrase what this means, but they call it the Stark King's Road, which is, and sure, it gives fairy tale. It gives, this is a myth. It gives, like, if you know this myth, you do not need it explained. If you don't know this myth, you're not going to get all the details of it. I certainly don't. I haven't even bothered doing the research to know if it is a real thing. And so it's just like, it's throwing you into the deep end of the mythology of this world. I'm personally very okay with that. But it means that as they're riding back one night, she talks to her mom, who is, like, worried for her, of, like, I'm sad that my daughter is taking on the work of a grown man. I'm sad that I could not provide for her. I'm sad that, like, my husband couldn't do well by her. Like, you have become such a grown-up and so hard to the world so quickly. And very reasonably, it bothers her. And daughter being, like, what, 18? Teenager is like, why are you mad at me?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I'm turning silver into gold, Mom. Like, because she picks up the debts from everyone and then she goes to the big city and she changes it into gold bars. You know, like how banks do. It's not like she's magically...
In the currency way, not the magic way.
Correct. Like, in this very specific way. It is a very literal, I'm turning silver into gold. It would have been more accurate to say I'm turning copper into gold because she's mostly getting things back in copper, but we're not... Why pick at that thread without... Semantics. It's for reason, and it's like, sure. It then means that when she gets back to the house late at night, slowly, they start finding signs that, oh, these mythical otherworldly beings have been showing up at this house. We're already Jewish. If people in town knew that also the fairies are coming to look at us, they're gonna burn our house down. It's gonna be hate crime central up in here. So they're like, hey, Wanda, the one person here who's not Jewish, can you be chill? And she's like, yeah, you're paying me. And that's like half of Wanda's character. And I honestly...
Like, I'm not gonna fuck up a good thing, okay?
Which is so serious. It's genuinely how she is. And it's like, cool. So they don't. And then eventually...
I mean, it also helps that for some reason when everything about these, like, otherworldly beings, regular people just, like, forget.
There's, like, an amnesia aspect.
Wanda, like, goes home and she's like, yeah, and I'm supposed to forget something. I don't know what,
though.
I can't remember what I'm supposed to forget, but okay, they asked me to lie, but I don't know about what.
Can I just say...
But they're paying me and feeding me, so...
I need you to understand, I love Wanda. I would die for Wanda. I think she's such a cool, sick person. She, like... I also feel really bad for her, because the way that we're describing her makes it sound like she's a fucking idiot, and she isn't.
No, she just had bad circumstances.
She had bad circumstances. She's just an illiterate peasant.
And a girl.
And a girl.
She's literally just a girl.
She's just a girl.
But she's doing her best, and she doesn't want to marry no man.
She doesn't.
She doesn't want to get married, and she wants to stay away from her father. And honestly, same.
Could have been a power throuple. We've talked about this before. We'll get there eventually. Because, like, that all happens. Wanda's like, it's chill. Eventually, I don't remember if they're on the road again or what, but essentially the Stark King shows up.
Again. I can't wait.
And
so they're on the road, yes.
Or they're at home. It's one of the two. And
they do a lot of traveling.
They do a lot of traveling. Actually, I think what it is it's just like they open the door one day and there's just like a fucking purse full of silver.
I couldn't, yes. Okay, but I also couldn't get over how they described the footprints of these, like, otherworldly creatures, about how they all had these, like, little curly boots on. Like, pointed toes with curly boots. I was like, okay, queen out. I love that these otherworldly, like, they're strapped up in their Miss Z's, and they're strutting through the snow.
That man got his 4,000 pound, 135 milliliter Louboutin.
Yeah.
And he
said, Carrie Bradshaw doesn't have shit on my shoe collection. Thank you.
Star King, fashion god.
Yeah.
Actually, so is the Tsar. It's actually made, specifically the Tsar, actually.
Actually, there's a big plot point that the Tsar was fashionable.
Actually, we're getting there. Sorry. It keeps going. I'm fully just doing a goddamn, like, full summary of the book and then stopping occasionally, and that's fine. They get the purse of silver, and it is, like, implied of, like, oh, cool. So I bragged in the middle of the fairy woods about that I could do this thing. Guess I've got to go turn all the silver into gold. Sick.
Whoopsie.
So she travels back to the big city, and she goes to her cousin's fiance, who is a jeweler, and is like, hey, can you make something pretty out of this? And he's like, fuck did you get this? And she's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry.
Don't ask him any questions. Just, can you do it or not? And it's like, yeah, sure. And like, Tash had a plan, whatever. He makes the prettiest ring that the world's ever seen, to the point that he gets the local lord to buy it off of him, essentially. And she's like, sick, now I have my gold.
Isn't it a duke?
Duke?
I think so.
I think you're right. I think it is a duke. Sorry, the duke. The summary called me lord.
There's a lot of
Local nobleman.
yeah.
Call it
Some powerful man.
some local landowner, whatever. He buys this ring. Cool. And she gets the gold, and on her way back from the big city, she is like, she stopped by the Star King, and he's like, sup? She's like, here. I got your gold for you. Are we good? And he's like, sick. She's like, is that it? And he's like, what do you mean, and? She's like, I did something for you. What do I get back? And he's like, and this is where she fucks up. Straight up. This is literally where she fucks up. Is just by doing that. Nothing else in this book would have happened if she hadn't gone, this otherworldly bitch. And what is my reward for being cool? And he's like,
You can live.
Next. And she's like, no.
I won't murder you and your family, actually.
Which, if you've read mythology, not fairy tales, not folk tales, but mythology, that's enough. That needs to be enough. You take that and you move on, and you move on with your life. She clearly has never read, like, any Greek mythology. Did not know that the prize for pleasing a god is your life and their favor.
She is so not like other girls.
She's so not like other girls.
Yeah.
That being said, I also fuck with it mad hard. Okay.
Love that for her.
I do. I'm sorry. I do, at the end of the day, love her being like, alright, bitch. I deserve a reward. And so he is like, if you do this for me 2 more times, I'll make you my queen, bitch. And she's like, bitch, fine. And he's like, alright, here you go. It's like 10 times the amount. I gave you 6 silver coins, now you have 60. Why is it 6? I don't know. I think it's a 666 thing, if I were to guess. Otherwise, it's a very random number, but it is honestly, 6 to 60.
Even think about it, yeah.
I did, because I was like, why 6?
Yeah.
To be fair. So she's like, well, I done fucked up now, haven't I? And, like, strikes a deal again. Wanda, again, is the only person who knows that she's doing this. And then has to go back to the big city. And she's like, hey, jeweler, can you take all of this and make a pretty? And so he makes this beautiful necklace. And this time, they're like, we are going to go all the way to that nobleman's manor and present it. And this is where we're introduced to the 3rd female lead. Whose name?
I want
Irina?
Yes.
Irina, I want to say.
Yes, that's correct.
I vibe with it.
Uh-huh.
She's interesting. I do actually... I probably like her the least.
Also, something that I didn't love about this book is that they don't use names very often.
No, they don't.
They only refer to people by their, like,
It's very fairy tale.
By their, like, situation in life or their job or whatever.
It's very fairy tale.
But then all of a sudden they switch to names. I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about?
It's very fairy tale.
I hate it.
Very
I'm
fairy
not a
tale.
fan.
We'll get into the history of the name Prince Charming later. But it's very fairy tale.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I'm like, no, I get it. This whole book is a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And so I, personally, am like, these are my expectations. This fits with my expectations. I get if you don't like it. But it is also very much just a core part of how fairy tales do. And I will defend that. Not strongly, but firmly. I get it. But anyway, so they meet this shitty nobleman who's not as abusive as a father as the farmer, but he's not great.
No. Well, because Irina is also, like, the less so sister. There's another sister that's, like, more beautiful with, like, the step.
She has, like, little siblings.
Isn't it? But isn't that with the stepmother?
She's got a stepmother.
Like half siblings.
Yeah, she has, like, little siblings who, like, literally, I don't think they ever even show up on page.
Because they really do, Irina dirty. Everyone is constantly talking about how plain she is.
And honestly...
Like, constantly. They're like, well, she's not ugly, but, like,
she's not
that's about it.
She has a long face.
Yeah.
She's pale. As a round-faced pale girl, can't relate.
Me neither.
They're like, she's flat as a board, and she has no personality.
Yeah.
And you know what? There is, like, an actual textual reason that's given. This is the one time where it's like, because none of it's ever in first-person point of view, but it's very third-person limited, which works very well to, like, limit how... to challenge your expectations in a way. And I say that because we're in Irina's head, and we're like, no, she's a sweetheart. She's very downtrodden, and she's very quiet and meek, because she can't imagine anything else that she can do.
Yeah.
And then later, people talk about her, and they're like, no, she's weird. she's so quiet. She never played with other children growing up. She was such a little freak.
Wonder why.
And they do say, where she's like, it's her grandfather, I think, it's either her grandfather or her great-grandfather was a member of the Starrick. He was a fae. So, like, essentially, I think it was her great-grandmother got essayed.
Yeah.
Because shit happens.
As it does. So then...
visiting soldiers who are from an otherworldly kingdom come through and essayed her great-grandma. And it's like, ugh. But then she gave birth to this little half fairy, half human boy who could, like, control winter winds. And it's like, oh. Well, again, that's very fairy tale. And then her grandmother, and then her mother, it meant, had, like, her own, like, brand of magic. But then Irina, who was...
They were, like... Because I think her mother then had, like, white blonde hair.
Yeah.
Like, looked very otherworldly. And then Irina came out and they were like, oh,
you're just,
brown
like,
hair, brown eyes.
with a bad personality.
You don't even have any, like, the fun magic. Like,
literally.
Okay.
Like, you have no magic. You aren't beautiful like your mom is.
You're relatives with them for what?
Basically.
For what?
And so, yeah, her dad remarries someone else. I don't remember what they mentioned what happened to her mom. I think she just, like, died. I
can't remember.
They don't really go into detail about it. And she has, like, a nanny that she's had her entire time growing up. So she, like, never is in want of motherly love. Frankly, based on the way that she describes herself and other people describe her, I don't think she needed motherly love. I'll be so real.
She really was there.
She was.
She so was there.
She, like, again.
She really just existed.
Glad we had her point of view, because I love her. I want the best for her, and I will protect her with the world. And she really comes into her own throughout the book.
Yes.
But from the get-go, you're like, no, I get it.
You're like, yeah, no one wanted to marry you, and fair enough.
Kind of get it. The best thing that she is for her father, who is, like, a mid-level, like definitely powerful, but not, like, could challenge the Tsar for the right to the throne level. Like, just important, but not wildly so. The best thing that she is to him, then, is a bargaining piece for marriage. Sure. And so, when Miriam and her cousin show up, whatever, Miriam the jeweler show up, and they're like, necklace to match that little ring. And he's like, bring down my daughter right now. And daughter's like, okay. Irina shows up, and they put the necklace around her, and he slips the ring on her finger, and suddenly she is beautiful.
Beautiful,
She's stunning.
gorgeous, literally ethereal, can't look away.
Here's the thing, I will also note, the way that this is described in, like, the attitude is a different fairy tale again. It reminds me of Donkey Skin, which...
I know that one.
It reminds me of Donkey Skin, and also, God, there's another one that I don't remember the original name of the original fairy tale, but, like, Little Thieves, is a book that was based off of it as well, which featured a noblewoman who was kind of plain looking, but a necklace made her look beautiful.
Yes.
It's, again, like, it was another reference to another fairy tale. And I was like, ha! I see it. Personally, I was like, oh, I get it. I know what you're going for.
Yeah.
Again, it's a love letter to fairy tales, in my opinion. And so then they go through all that, and they're like, pretty sure we're going to get more silver, and we'll make her a crown this time. And he's like, cool. The Lord is like, cool. I'm gonna send some letters and set some plans in action. Fast forward, she exchanges the silver for gold again. Wanda's chill again. And they get, again, 10 times the amount. It's like 600 gold.
600,
They come back, and they make the crown, and they show back up, and Irina's like, crown, necklace, ring. Who is this vision of beauty? Who is this captivating?
I'm single and ready to mingle.
And that's when we find out that the Lord has called for the Tsar to come show up to try and marry him to his daughter.
The Tsar was coming anyways.
He was?
The Tsar was coming, and Irina's younger sister was going to be put up for matrimony.
Sure.
And then when the Duke
When this all
got
happened.
all the thing, he was like, oh, actually, my Pelena's daughter with all the jewels,
This
all
is
of
the
a
one that
sudden, you want to marry her.
Which, to be 100% fair, this is also how we find out that her having that Starrick blood, this being Starrick silver, it interacts in a fun way. And, like, I'm pretty sure it's implied, though it's not... We never find out if it's true. I'm pretty sure it's implied that if someone else were to wear these jewels, they would not have the same effect.
I feel like they did figure that out. I may be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure they did figure that out when Magda, the nanny, came to live with her, and she tried to put it all on, and she didn't get the powers.
Yeah, it has to do with her bloodline. Like, she doesn't...
and Irina also recognized that the silver was magic. The Duke didn't recognize that it was magic.
He just thought,
he just was like, oh, a ring for me.
That is the thing they note very heavily of, like, no one can keep their eyes off of this. It's not even implied that the jewelry makes her beautiful. It's more implied their power and their beauty and their otherworldliness inherently almost casts a veil over her. Mm-hmm. So it's not that it changes how she looks. It's that how she looks is entirely obscured. Mm-hmm. So, frankly, great tool to go steal things. If you wanted to Ocean's 8 things, Irina's the girl we hit up.
Take it off. You're like,
no one will know where you came
girl
from.
in the corner.
That's not the one.
I don't want to marry her.
No, I would never. So the Tsar shows up, and we get a whole backstory of how it turns out he's a sadistic little freak who was terrible as a child, who was also, like, the third in line to the throne, and then everyone else, like, mysteriously died. It's, like, a whole thing. And so he came to the throne very, like, young in life, like a ripe 15, 16, and has
exactly who you want in power.
Oh, we love it. I love YA novels. And it's been a couple of years since then. Oh, he is like 19 years old then, I think is what it said. And everyone's been like, he's got to get married at some point. Which does get really funny, because it turns out the Tsar is the most politically inept person I've ever read in my entire life. To the point that it's funny. Irina, it turns out, because she's been listening in on her father's, like, conferences her entire life. She knows how useless she is, and has for her entire life. And she's like, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, they trick him into marrying her. Cool. Turns out, not much of a trick. Turns out he's got a demon inside him, and the demon wants to eat her.
The fire demon!
That's he wants to eat her. To consume. Oh, no, not even eat. Drink. I want to drink of her power. I want, she'll be an ice cold, delicious summer drink.
She would satiate me for years to come.
It's like, relax.
Scrumptious.
Delicioso. Like, alright, chill. But no, it turns out No, it's absolutely that demon is the one who, like, killed everyone else. But, more importantly, he didn't even ask for this demon. His mom, like, forced it upon him, essentially. Which, yikes. Gotta love some bad mother figures in this house. And that's why he's, like, both wildly hot because of this demon. It's why no one can, like, say no to him. It's because of the demon. It's why he wasn't fooled by the jewels. To the point, turns out he's also a little artist. He loved his sketchbooks.
He's deep.
And consistently was like, can you just sit there? I'm just gonna...
Yeah. They kept coming back to it. They just kept drawing her because he was like, you're not beautiful. Why does everyone think you're beautiful? And then so he would draw her and then be like,
is this her?
Do you think she's beautiful? Do you think so? And everyone would be like, yeah. He's like, no, I don't think so. My wife? No. This gum? No.
This bottom
square?
of a shoe?
Absolutely not.
And cracked me up too. This is also why, like, I love Irene because she then came back and she was like, oh, your mom cursed you with a demon? My mom was also magic. And she's like, how do I fucking spin this? She cast a spell on me so that I'd be beautiful to anyone who was a fool.
But you, good sir,
must
not be.
Smarty pants. And he's like, there's a lot of idiots at court. That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually really
big brain.
It's pointed out that, like, this demon who, like, is very, again, Jekyll and Hyde, which is not a fairy tale. Very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When the sun goes down and the moon goes up, he turns into a teenage fucking demon.
Teenage fire demon.
And it's like, this demon is genuinely terrible. Like, he, like, tears apart rooms and he, like, breaks the guy's bones because, like,
he's so emotional.
And ironically, because he's, like, straight up destroying all of his clothing, part of the deal is that he's cultivated this, like, reputation for never wearing the same outfit twice, because how else can you explain the fact that every night your clothing is, like, burned to cinders?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly...
So he's like, fashionista, I guess. So then he has to start dressing Irina in all these new clothing because he's like, if I'm a fashionista, you must also be a fashionista. And she doesn't care. She's like, no, I have 3 dresses and that's fine. He's like, no. I'm going to embroider this shit.
I'm going to get over here, I'm going to pull out these seed pearls, and I'm going to individually stitch them myself. Actually, I forgot, I'm a man. I don't know how to do that. I do have a fire demon, so I'm just going to... and I'm gonna magic your outfit to be gorgeous.
I know. She, like, walks in the same outfit that she's worn before. He's like,
no.
Honey, with those shoes?
It's very much the vibe. So also, like, she's figured out, she's like, I'm gonna get eaten by a demon if I'm not careful. So, I'm gonna use my jewels. And it turns out that means I can go through the mirror dimension, and the Stark world is, like, it's literally on the other side of reflective surfaces. Vibes.
Yes.
It has to do with ice and water and bullshit, I'm sure. And, like, silverback mirrors, I'm sure. Like, there's a lot of reasoning that you can choose to apply to it. They don't bother applying it to it. You don't need to.
That's just how you access it.
It's just... fairy tale, magic kingdom, you go through the mirror.
She's like, crown, necklace, ring, diamond. Done. Easy.
And you know what? Good for her. She does call out those stupid Redditors. And she goes, well, can I do it with just the crown? No. Can I do it with just one of these? No. 2? Yeah. 3? Like butter, baby. So, you know. Good for her. That is one plot hole that they, like, do take the time to go through.
Yeah.
Which, sure, fine. That is not one that I'm going to question or have issue with going for, right? In the meantime, pull it back to small town world. Miriam has successfully, like, done this challenge 3 times. And so the Stark is like,
guess we're wifed up now. Wow.
And she's like, fuck this, man. I wanted a decent husband who wasn't worthless. And instead, I'm stuck with this guy. Shout out to her grandfather. Because they
I do remember that
the best conversation in the book where they sit down and she's like, Grandpa, I got myself into a real pickle. And he's like,
lay it on me. Power, girl.
Literally, he does this amazing.
He's like, come on.
You could do worse.
Come
you
on.
You could do worse.
He's like, oh no, you're a queen.
Is he gonna be a cute
He's
little
so
boy?
fucking for real.
Is he gonna be like a bookkeeper from like fucking Isengard or whatever? And it's like, no. Are you gonna be a queen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's like,
pros and cons.
Quit complaining.
Could be worse.
And
she's like, you're so right, man. You're so right. So he shows up. I go into the mirror world, and that is when they end up like highlighting a really fun aspect of like it's fairy tale rules of you have claimed that you can do this thing. If you can, by whatever means necessary, prove that you can, retroactively the world kind of retrofits it so that you can have just always been able to do that. Yeah. So for her, having bragged, I can turn silver into gold, and then technically done that 3 times over. 3 is a magic number, fairy tale, blah, 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 blah. She now, when she goes into the fairy realm, she literally can turn silver into gold with a touch. Which is why they're like, it's a metaphor, it's Rumpelstiltskin. And it's like, sure. Okay. Yeah. Don't disagree. I think that is honestly, that is the loosest fairy tale comparison you can make throughout the book. The story of like the Ice Queen is like up in here. The way that the Stark King shows up for her, I'm trying to remember the name of the original fairy tale again, but like there's a book called East of the Sun, West of the Moon, which involves like a snow bear showing up, and a polar bear, and like kidnapping a girl to come be his princess or whatever, and there's like a whole thing around that. And in my head I was like, oh, that's that. Beauty and the Beast. Very much. Rumpelstiltskin is very much part of this, but it's like, there's like 5 fairy tales that you could easily equate it to. And editing me here, there's an entire part of this book where she has to go through 3 storerooms and change all of the things in it from silver to gold. That's the Rumpelstiltskin part more than anything else, and I don't know why I didn't remember. I'm like into it. Shows up, she's like has a ball of a time getting to know these bizarre fairy rules where everyone is like, you're an idiot. What do you mean you don't get how important it is not to just give out your names? Which I think, honestly, is if she was Gentile and not Jewish, I don't think she would have had this issue. Because there's a lot of Jewish fairy tales, which also the way that she is framed, when you read like a lot of Jewish folktales, very much, she fits in with all of them. She is challenged by a greater power and manages to outwit it and outsmart it. This happens multiple times throughout the book. She is a plucky young Jewish girl who, through wit and grit alone, solves these problems and comes out on top. That is quintessential for that community, to my understanding, from what I've read. And Gentile, whatever. But on the other hand, at the same time, Wanda, who is not Jewish, she knows all about the Stark. And she's like, oh, this is some freaky bad nonsense. But of course, I am a poor peasant girl who lives out in the woods. I need to know about this. My little brother got into huge trouble because he like hunted animals that belonged to the Stark King. And if I had not done X, Y, or Z, he would not have survived. If this had happened to her, she would have been fine. She would have played by all the rules, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. She wouldn't have made the mistakes that Miriam made. She wouldn't have made bargains accidentally in the way that Miriam did. It's one of those, it's absolutely...
She knows how to keep her mouth shut.
Yep.
And keep her head down.
Miriam does not. Mm-hmm. I love her.
And I like seeing both of them and how they deal with both in both ways.
Which, honestly, sly. Speaking of Wanda, in the meantime, she's been mildly courted by like some, and by mildly, I do mean mildly, like, yeah. As the reader, as Wanda's going around essentially doing Miriam's job at this point, she is very heavily flirted with by someone else in town, and they're like, you should get married. And she's like, funny. Anyway, money, please. And which, again.
Money, please. Money, 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 money.
One would never say that. I would not disrespect my queen. But she goes home to her dad's place one night. And who was there but the father of, like, the local, like beer maker or whatever. Who's like, hey, yo, I'm gonna marry you to my son, and therefore your father will be able to have beer whenever he wants. And drunk dad is like, yeah, please. No. And she's like, oh, funny you should ask. I don't want to do that. So, anyway, this results in a giant fight. Dad tries to kill her, and also, like, her brothers. And so instead, one of her brothers beats him until he can't get up anymore. And
then he, like, falls on, like, a poker.
Doesn't help. Does.
No, usually doesn't.
So he's
usually doesn't.
down for the permanent count, as the kids call it. Mm-hmm. But the problem is there was a witness, of course. There was, like, the prospective father-in-law. It's like, I'm gonna go.
You just murdered your dad.
I don't. This is and so they're like, cool. We've got to run away forever now because, oh my god, we're gonna be wanted for murder. So they run away, and they find this like little cabin in the woods.
The elder two siblings.
They manage to.
They send the youngest sibling to
Miriam's
parents' house to pretty much take over Wanda's position in the household.
Yeah, he's like 9.
Yeah.
He's like 7, 8, or 9. Like he's a
They're like, Wanda pretty much is like, Miriam's parents are kind. They will care for him.
No one's gonna...
Off you go.
Yeah, no one's gonna, like, try and, like, I don't know, persecute this literal child. So, if anyone's gonna be, like, he cannot stick it out in the woods. We can. He's got, like, someone else has to take care of our goats, I guess. And so, like...
I guess.
Bye. I think this is where Steppen's point of view starts coming in, and you're like,
yes.
oh, that's a child. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a baby.
Yeah.
Great. Mm-hmm. I would die for Steppen. I think he's a baby. I love him. But...
Just a wee babe.
What is Wanda's brother's name? The older one.
Does it really matter?
True.
He's just kind of there sometimes.
Sven. Let's go with that. It's stylistically important. They find like this little cabin in the woods, and it feels like a witch's hut. Like it's got firewood nearby. It's got like clearly like has a like plot of land and all this nonsense. And like we're gonna stay here.
Yeah, like some bits in the cabin look like they were just like left like 5 minutes ago, and some parts look like it's been left 500 years ago.
Right. And so this gets to one of my favorite parts of the book, which is they're living in this little cabin, and they're like, we're just gonna stay here for a little bit and then keep moving. But we need to stay somewhere.
But then they're like, well, we should probably fix this chair as a thank you, so we've got to stay another day. And they're like, well,
we gotta re-chop that firewood.
I've got to spin some yarn
so that I
can say thank you. We got to stay.
And in the meantime, the way that they're like phrasing it's like, oh, this is some Starrick nonsense, because their memory is getting all wishy-washy in the way that we've seen this entire time of like when the Starrick are involved, your memory goes blah, 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 for lack of a better word. And meanwhile, Irina, back to her, she's been dealing with
her
the
nanny.
Tsar. She manages to get the Tsar.
And...
her nanny, rather. No, just some.
And Miriam.
Is not there yet.
Oh.
Not involved yet.
Oh, okay.
Just Irina and her nanny. Like, the Tsar grabs her nanny to use as, like, a torture bargaining chip.
Yeah.
And so they end up...
As one does.
So they end up, she pulls her into the mirror world, and they manage... Oh, you're right, Irina does show up, because they're like, let's take you to this one little hut in the woods that I found that all of these fairies are afraid of. I'm gonna double check, make sure it's still recording, because I'm having a panic attack. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Double checking, sorry. It turns out this one little cabin in the woods is like
right
a liminal
in between
space.
Worlds. Yes.
It is like a threshold, for lack of a better way to put it.
So you find out that like, oh, all these things that Wanda's been experiencing that they're like, I don't know if that was there before, but I'm not sure. It's all of that is happening on the other space.
Yeah.
On the other side of the veil, and it's Miriam and Irina and her nanny.
I kind of love it. I mean, Miriam's not there all the time. It's mostly just her nanny. But, like, because she's queen. She has to go back to the Starved Mountain or whatever. But I kind of love it because it's like the two kids are like, we're going to make dinner. Here's a giant pot of porridge. Huh. Weird. There's, like, a portion that's been taken out.
Weird. Also, now there's a spoon that we wanted last night, but there it didn't exist, and now it's just there for us to use. Okay.
Flip side, and also as someone who spins, I take issue with this, but I know how to use a spinning drop spindle and all nonsense. Flip side, we get back to the nanny side of things, and she's like, "Fuck is this lumpy wool? What idiot made this?
Who did this bad job?"
And so she's like, "Let me respin this wool," and I'm like, it takes a lot more work than you're making it sound like it does, but sure, whatever. Not fine, whatever. So she respins the wool to be, like, far finer, and it's lovely. And in the meantime, Wanda's like, I haven't been that careful spinning since my mom was alive. Who made it so pretty? Okay, well, I tore the mattress cover, whatever, so I need to, like, knit a new one because Girl Scout code of honor, you gotta leave a place better than you found it, kind of dealio. And so she starts doing that, and the next morning she wakes up and she's like, there's a whole ass pattern in this. there's some cabling in here, there's, like, some prettiness. She's like, I didn't do that.
I don't know how to do that.
So we love a knitting queen. She gets down on the floor and she's like, Miriam taught me how to count. I'm gonna count the number of stitches and, like, numbers. And she writes out the knitting pattern. Like, she uses an Excel spreadsheet and she fills in all the cells. Sorry, I know that you only just learned how to knit. The knitting girlies will get it.
I understand. I thought that was one of my favorite scenes of the book. I thought it was very cute. I love Wanda.
Because you know who's great? The nanny. The nanny knows how to knit real pretty. And so she's the one who's like, I'm doing this pattern. And she's like, I'm thinking of my girl. I'm thinking of my Irina. And so this is specifically the pattern for a wedding bed. Didn't need that detail. But it's cute. It's cute and I love it. And she makes Wanda into a better knitter because of it. It's really cute, like, part of the book. It's just some, like, being nice to each other, but both of them are like, ghosts. I don't know.
Ghosts. Both sides. Ghosts.
Like, what was that? Don't think about it. We're in a clearly magical area. Do not think about it. If we don't think about it, it'll be fine. And it is. We're still at the part where you've read.
Yes, I'm still here. Yes.
At this point, I think we're getting closer to, like, that cutoff time period, because this is the part where, like, I'm getting wishy-washy, like, on the details. So, Irina's in a bad marriage with a guy who wants to eat her, literally. Miriam's in a bad marriage with a guy who could care less about her. And it sucks. And so, she strikes another bargain with him where she's like, I'm going to turn all of your storerooms of silver into gold, which is a stupid idea, it turns out, because it's, like, so much work. But for reasons that we're not going to get into, because it's not worth it. It's very Rumpelstiltskin. It's very fairy tale. The details don't super matter for the sake of summary. In the way that not to get too bogged down into the details, like, I haven't been doing that this whole time.
So, anyways,
she manages to go.
She's like, you know what? I have a powerful king as a husband. And you have a powerful ice eater as a husband. Do you want him? You can have him. So
and Miriam they'll cancel out.
And Miriam and Irina are like, okay, scheme. Let's get our horrible husbands together. They're going to ruin each other and we'll be free. So they get together and some ruining happens.
There's a whole fist fight. Like, they go to a wedding. Remember how I said the fucking jeweler and her cousin are soon to be married?
It's their wedding. To the wedding. Their poor wedding. I loved them. They were the least problematic. They literally were just there. The jeweler was just like, I want to make some beautiful jewels. And the cousin was like, I'm going to get married to her.
And it's sweet. And you're like,
and then their fucking cousin is like, and then I'm going to have the demon eat my husband there.
And so, yeah, we get this giant fucking wedding scene. There's a giant fight. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, fire wins. Because of reasons. Those reasons being largely based around Miriam's family not, like, essentially creating an opening for the Fire King to go after the Ice King, for lack of a better way to phrase it. Sucks. And so it means no one's happy. Both of them are still alive. And unfortunately, at this point, Miriam's like, oh, it turns out there's, like, people on the other side. And
she's like, oh, that's, like, really not, like, just the people in power. They're also, like, innocents that live there.
And taking away their king, unfortunately.
And they're all gonna die. And I don't feel great about that.
And so she, like, goes up to Irina and she's like, girly, can we maybe not? Can we actually free... I'm sorry, like, the deal was good, but also, I don't like the final outcome because it means that things are still kind of bad. And Irina's like, hey, queen to queen now, because now we're both queens, I'm not going to sacrifice the well-being of the humans in general for the sake of some fairies who consistently are, like, coming over the border. Hey, my great-grandma got SA'd by one of those soldiers. I'm a direct product of their interference. So valid, so real. Like I said, I love Irina. It's a very real argument. And
she's taking care of her people.
And she's like, I don't feel good about it. This isn't, like, I'm sorry, and I don't want people to suffer.
But if my people are going to suffer for the sake of your people, I'm not going to do it. Yeah.
We love ethical monarchy. And so Miriam goes off. There's like a whole subplot with tunnels, and her granddad knows where they are. We're not getting into it. She goes and she finds where he's being held captive and is like, I'm not going to free you until we have a bargain, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how bad things go. Miriam's going to get what Miriam needs, and I love her for that. And so she's like, no more, like, taking whatever you want from the human world. And he's like, and after some back and forth, it's like...
Also...
Why are you knocking down my books?
I'm so sorry. I'm so... Oh. Well... Not a Neil Gaiman book. Suzanne Collins. And you're more than welcome to have a spot.
I can stay on the ground.
Okay, wait. Backstory. The fairy people, what they're doing to the humans, not only are they, like, coming and stealing things from them in the middle of the night, they're also keeping the humans in kind of an eternal winter, because they get their power from the humans' winter. I couldn't tell you how or what, anything more than that, but they are, they get power from winter in the human realm, so then the humans are suffering for it because they don't have any crops or food or anything.
But of course, part of the reason why they have that is because, or the reason why Star King's been, like, making that so much worse and more consistent is because of the fire demon, who is trying to eat all the Stark people, for lack of a... I'll eat you up. You gotta tell me that. Show just, like, devouring a big bowl of...
I'm just gonna pull my phone out for a second. You know, like, the trend on TikTok...
like, eating would work, though. I'm sorry, I'm a trendsetter. I don't follow trends. You can tell because I have sunrise on the raping.
And why do you have that?
So I broke up with my boyfriend 2 weeks ago. Yay. And someone, some beautiful, lovely, kind soul who loves me very much went, hey, you know how to get over a breakup?
All I hear is that you have a wonderful, amazing friend who gifts you books.
I do have
that. Yeah.
I do have that. And what do I gift you?
You made me lunch today. I came to your house and said, feed me.
And I said, I got some dumplings. Yeah. I can make that work. Uh-huh. There's some fresh basil right there.
There you go.
Just put your head down like a sheep and just... Is that good enough for you? I've got a bag of spinach just in the fridge. Is that good enough for you? And you're like,
yum.
Could be better. And I'm like, got some stale bread?
Need some fiber.
Stale bread? Stale bread?
Only if there's also some hard cheese that I can wrap up and put in my pocket to take for, like, a long journey.
I've got, like, a bag of Parmesan.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah. Works for me.
I think some really old Goudas in there, too.
Fantastic.
That's some hard cheese. Anyway, my point is, there's a king fight. It doesn't go well. Miriam manages to, like, get the Stark King to, like, make agreements and conciliations for the humans and be like, can you stop making winter so bad? And he's like, fine. I will, actually. Free me. So if that's the part, like, that happens, there's a whole bargaining scene. It's actually really good.
Okay. I've not read any of this.
I know. It's why I'm doing my best to get, because, like, honestly, I got through the last of it very quickly, and I was on my way home, so it, fuzzy. That all happens, and Irina, like, is then confronted by the fire demon, and he's like, fuck you, and she's like, so if I take you through the mirror world and, like, send you through there, like, you should be able to have whatever you want. Please don't eat me. And he's like, fine. Basically what happens. And so she does that. So the Tsar goes into the fairy world.
Okay.
And she's like, oh, I might have fucked up. And well, not my problem. And so we skip over. Weirdly, like, we go back to Wanda's point of view for a minute, because part of the reward of them, like, doing so good, and, like, getting the Tsar his icy little ice cream treat, the Stark King, was, the Tsar was like, okay, you are now, or I think actually Irina is like, you are. Oh,
yes, you're allowed to take whatever property you want, you're welcome. Yeah. Pretty much, you can live your life. Any crimes, no one will bat an eye that you murdered your father.
Which I don't think she knows about. I think she just literally was like, whatever crimes you may not have done, you are pardoned of them.
Whatevs.
And they're like, oh, cool. The little cottage. Let's go back to that little cottage. Can we please?
Did they?
They did.
Good.
So they go back to the cottage with, like, Miriam's parents. Which is also then, because...
I did love that they kind of adopted each other. It's both of them on either side they were like, you're now my parents. And they were like, you're now our children.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say this as someone who is like, ride or die, I will choose to read things as gay as often as I want. Miriam Wanda is the most sister relationship I think I've ever read.
Oh, so sister.
I think if you wanted to, you could read it as gay.
I could read Irina Miriam
Correct.
as gay.
That's what I'm saying.
But Miriam Wanda, sisters for life. Sisters 100%. For life. 100%. Yeah.
Also, I'm going to say this, I think Miriam bi as hell. I think she's super bi, and she is also very into adult things. On the other hand, I feel
like
Irina,
just none of it was romantic or sexual.
I think Irina...
That, like, I was like, I couldn't even really make much.
Never. Irina specifically, I think, is asexual.
I could see that.
I think Wanda's straight.
I think that Wanda's just over it. I think Wanda can't be bothered for anything, quite frankly.
I think if she met someone...
I think Wanda's couldn't care.
More wine?
Please.
This video is sponsored by the wine that my boss bought me back in December that my other coworker never brought home, so she said that I could have it.
Yes.
I love having sponsored deals from people who did not consent to them.
Love it.
It's my favorite kind of sponsorship.
Love it.
Oh no, but, like, they end up going back to that cottage. Miriam shows up with the Stark King because it, like she uses her family's help to get him out of the city. Which is a whole thing by itself. Wanda's brother, whose name we don't remember, Sven, is a huge help in that way.
Yes.
Turns out he's dope. We actually really like him, it turns out.
Okay, period, because he was useless for a while.
Yeah, he was.
But he pulled his shit together.
He really did.
Uh-huh.
And he helped get a literal king out of jail.
Yeah,
or whatever.
period.
They end up going back to that little cottage. And because they're like, well, this is the bit between the two worlds.
And we love it.
Or you better know?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, no, the Fire King ate me a little bit. And so because of that...
He took a little nibble, okay? And what about it? Who hasn't been nibbled by a Fire King? Who's not taking a little much?
Well, because of it, it means that, like, the it's summertime now. It's meant to be, like, taking place, like, in June. Mm-hmm. And winter is gone. So this man made of ice, where they're like, well, the more that the white ice, like, thaws off of his skin, turns out his skin's, like, blue. Crazy. And, like, they never get into it. They never thaw him out completely because he would, die. But it means like, lock him in the basement. So like this place is
big. Put him in like the icebox.
Literally. Which is the best part of it. It's like does this place have a basement? And Wanda's like, no. Like, well, what's that door over there? I guess it's the basement. Because that's how
this one room cottage has a basement.
It's got a basement.
And like an ice chest.
Because it's how it works.
And there's probably some like cured meats, some prosciutto down there.
Oh yeah. They actually had a whole pig that was like hanging up waiting for them to come. So they get him down there and she's like, can you get us back to the ice world? And he's like, no, I'm dying. Can't do that.
A little busy. Okay.
So they're like, I don't know, like we need to get like some bit of the Stark world over here, and it's like, how do we do that? So for this very small moment from like the first like third of the book, the little baby Steppen is like, oh, I got an acorn from Mama's tree, and
yes, the one,
from the tree that they buried all those kids under.
I do remember the acorn, yes.
And so, and it turns out
like,
that is a Stark tree. And so...
Of course it is!
Of course it is. And...
of course it is.
It's why it's magic. It's why she was able to, like, talk to them from beyond the grave.
Okay.
You get a freaking hilarious moment where they're looking at it, the baby's like, did this do? Is it good enough? And
please, that child is like 9. Can you use full sentences, please?
This good, Mr. Kingman? And he's like, literally, his reaction is like, this is the fruit of the snow tree. Sure. And how did you get this? And he's
like, it's my mom.
Literally. Like, you, like, he was like, what do you mean you buried your mom under that? You would need to have, like, 5 bodies buried underneath that. And they're like, well,
they're like, okay.
We do. The snow tree doesn't fruit more often, like, once every millennia because of blah, 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 and you like life force and X, Y, and Z. I'm like, well, there's 5 dead bodies buried under that tree. Acorn. And he's like, yeah, that'll do it. Okay, so we need to plant it now and, like, make a new tree. And they're like, oh, cool. So it's an ice tree, right? He's like, yeah. Summertime. Can you, like, freeze the ground? And he's like, no. No. Yeah, actually, I can't. It's funny that you should ask. Like, they try. And at a certain point, Miriam, love that bitch, is like, hear me out. There's a rain barrel over here. Can you freeze that? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah. And he does. And so we jump back to Irina's point of view. Essentially, the way that they describe it is kind of freaky, where it's essentially like Miriam's like, well, I know that if you go through the reflection, that'll get back into the fairy world, so if we just take this acorn and just do that, then she feels a hand on the other side of it, and when she pulls her hand back out, she doesn't have the acorn anymore, and she's like, well, hope that was okay. Hope it worked out. Uh-oh. Literally. I don't think it was our one option, so I hope that it's okay. And
I buffed it. I did.
Boom, there's a tree now. She's like, oh, cool. It's Irina. Irina was on the other side of the mirror. She sees a hand poking through the rain barrel, and she's like, peek.
For me?
And she's like, I don't know why.
For Mom?
But something in my blood is telling me. And I don't even remember, like, what compelled her. I think she brought the king over, and he's like, yay, time to go eat everyone. And she's like, hand with an acorn. Let me go get the hand with an acorn. And I'm going to just, I don't know. What do you do with acorns? You plant them. So let me just hope it's good. Other side of the world, or other side of the veil, I guess. And it's just like, tree.
Of course.
Fairy tales. The ending is a little bit rushed.
It was... The reason I didn't like this book is because it was so slow.
Yeah.
It was so, in my opinion, so boring. They were like, yes, this.
It's all vibes, baby.
And this. And that. And then the ending's rushed.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So the tree sprouts and whatever. And Miriam's like, yay, hubby, let's go.
She likes her hubby now? Hubby sans demon or hubby with
hubby
demon?
likes her more now. And she's like, fine.
Okay,
you're gonna go save your people or whatever. So she pulls him over. They go to, like, the tree for reasons is, like, enough to, like, oh, great, now we're in the Stark world. Cool, don't think about it too much. And they get on the other side, and it's like, cool, let's go kill the demon, kill the demon, kill the demon, it's the day. Go. I don't think Irina's even in the hut anymore. She's just, like, back home. And so Miriam and the Stark King, like, ride out. One of the there's deer that have knives for feet.
Okay.
Is a thing.
Sure.
And one of them, because it's a fairy tale, shows up and is like, let's go. And so they're like, sick.
Awesome. Yeah.
Jump on his back and they, like, speed
That's
through the forest.
my chosen form of transportation as well.
Love it. Knife, foot, reindeer. Love it. And they get through, and they get, like, back to the giant mountain palace, which has, like, a giant ice sheet on top of it, which the Stark King very, like, bitchily one time was like, you're not a Stark Queen, you're not a Stark Queen until you can fix the crack in the mountain. This is important. He wasn't just being bitchy, he was doing this fun little literary trick called foreshadowing.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that fairies mean what they say?
It turns out.
Crazy.
So they get back, and the fire demon is like, boom, 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 I'm fucking eating everybody. It's like, it's a giant battle with all the soldiers.
What's his name again?
Oh, it's such a great question. It's like Beelzebub, something like that.
Chernobog.
Yeah.
Like, it is 100, like, Belphegor.
Yeah.
It is a specific, like, devil.
Yeah.
Which, you could probably... Hey, hi, it's me, editing me here again. I need to jump in here, because I had to go on, like, a short diatribe about thinking that there's some connection between this Slavic deity and Christianity. There's not a connection. There's a connection insofar as, like, after doing further research, a lot of the sources seem to have been written by Christians, but, like, that's about it. And so that's me a huge jump cut here for a minute, because I went on a diatribe, and I was just super wrong, and I'm choosing to put this in here because I'm worried that if someone were to just listen to this, they might not catch me correcting myself in the little edits that I've been doing this entire time. Okay, cool. Thanks. Bye.
Going forward, she fixed the crack. I can only assume.
Yeah,
she dove into that crack, got real comfy cozy, said, I'm gonna knit this bitch up.
Yeah, she goes in, she's like, This is like, it's coming from like a spring well inside the mountain of like silver, so she turns it all gold, which the gold gives them power for like sunlight reasons.
For sunlight reasons. There was also something about like the gold, the silver turning into the gold is like what created the winter in the human realm.
Yeah,
but they
Miriam was not helping.
Quickly brushed over that.
Don't worry about it. It's really what you need to know. It's just like
I'm
don't
worried though.
Well, she managed to
worried.
to like lure the demon to like come after her, and she, for reasons, again, this part is like both a little rushed, and at this point I was like, we're 94% of the way through. I'm not paying a lot of attention anymore. I'll be super honest. And for a reason, she manages to like use him melting things and nonsense to like douse him in a bunch of ice. Like it results in him being done.
Okay.
It results in the
sent
demon
back to hell or dead. Okay.
Dead, I think. And also simultaneously sealing the crack, therefore making her a true Stark Queen.
Period.
Slay.
Love that for her. Got her crown.
Yeah. So Irina is like, I think the Tsar ended up surviving or whatever, but the demon did not. So like she gets to like have a husband or whatever, and it's chill. We don't really focus on her and her ending in particular. She's gonna be fine.
Why would you?
Wanda gets to have a family and like have a future in the way that she wouldn't have otherwise.
Love it. Love that for her.
The ending is a lot like the beginning in that it is Miriam's ending.
Okay.
Where she essentially, they do, part of their bargaining is being, like, they talk to, like, the parents, whatever, and they bargain. It's like, you have to promise to bring me back. Like, you have to, like, I have to be able to see my family.
Yeah.
You cannot keep me trapped in the fairy world. This is part of the bargain. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's like, I can't just bring you back and forth whenever you want, because winter is not going to be a thing forever. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't want winter, so therefore I cannot bring you back whenever. So they've reached the, like, compromise of, first snowfall in the human world. You're bringing me back. I'm gonna go see my mom.
So very Hades Persephone.
Yeah,
Love.
100%.
Yeah.
And so the ending comes around. They manage to like together. They repair the Starry Kingdom and like become true kings and queens. He never really makes a move on her. It's very chill, and she's like, cool. Like this is life. And first snowfall comes, and he whisks her away, and they go home. And she's kind of sad. She's like, I've kind of grown into my role, and there's people I've become friends with in the Star Wars world. I would miss them if I never got to see them again.
Back.
So this is why I love the ending, because the Star King promptly like delivers her to her family in that little cottage in the woods, which they've done a lot with in the past 6 months.
Yes.
4 months, whatever. It doesn't super matter. And he goes, cool. Attendants come up behind him, and they dump, like, a chest filled with silver, a chest filled with gold, a chest filled with like, jewels. Like, I really like your daughter. I would like to formally request the right to court her to be wed.
That's really cute.
It's so cute. And on top of that, she's like, bitch? No, we're not fucking doing this. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, isn't this how, like, people, like, do this? This is how people do this. And she's like, yeah, the Gentiles. We're Jewish, bitch. You're gonna go by our standards. And so they go through, like, this entire, like, courting thing. And he, like, and they, like, get married under a chuppah and everything. And it's, like, it's genuinely, like, it's...
That's sweet.
That's what I mean. Where, like, her being Jewish is such an integral part of it, to the point that the ending is a wedding again. And it is a specifically Jewish wedding. And it's like...
That's cute.
Slay.
That is a more satisfying ending than I was picturing.
Yeah.
From, like, where I left off. But I also, like, don't feel like I'm, like... I feel like I never, like, got invested in the story.
Yeah.
Very much. So, that, like, I don't feel a need to, like... I'm, like, as cute and sweet as that is, and, like, I love knowing that that's how it ended.
Yeah.
I don't feel a need to, like, go back and read it and, like, experience that. Because, like, I just truly, like... I don't know if it's because, like... I didn't pay enough attention when I started, or it, like, took too long for me to, like, get into the story, or what, but I just never, it just didn't do it for me. Didn't do it for me.
I will also note, for the readers back home, I have been reading a lot of Naomi Novik this year, partially because I read, the first thing I read of hers was the Deadly Education trilogy, which I have 2 out of 3 books here for. I don't know. I don't have the final ones, but no, I don't have the second ones. I don't have. For whatever reason, I have it back in America. That is a contemporary urban fantasy where, like, for example, it's titled Chapter 1, Soul Eater. I decided that Orion needed to die after the second time he saved my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the opening line. I hadn't really cared much about him before then, one way or the other, but I had limits. It's like, vibes. Where are we going with this? Like, it's that kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. Flipping open like a random bit. It's like, again, it's all first person point of view.
When was this published?
After Spinning Silver, and I can tell you that because I see it here.
Yeah.
2020.
Excuse me.
Oh, by Temeraire LLC. So I think that Temeraire series is probably her first, like, proper series. But, like, if you're thinking that's why I don't have friends, it's a bit of a chicken and egg. Anyone who doesn't have enough friends to watch their back can't afford to be well-groomed, and lets people know you don't have enough friends to watch your back, which makes them less likely to think you're a valuable ally. However, none of us spends loads of time showering. Like,
yes.
She does have a very specific writing style, which is very... exposition. Expository is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like, Naomi Novik is a very expository writer in the first place. Having read, at this point, I think, like, 5 of the Temeraire books, which are neither a fantasy series, despite being about dragons. They're more like a gateway drug for fantasy readers to get into reading more historical fiction, and simultaneously being a good way for historical fiction readers to get into reading fantasy. They're a very
good middle ground.
Right.
Bridge book.
Spinning Silver is a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Very It is not a fantasy. It's a fairy tale.
So Spinning Silver was recommended to me as a fantasy. And
correct.
Yeah, so I was specifically, like, in a fantasy vibe. That's all I wanted to read, but I also was not... I didn't feel very, like, focused in my reading, so I was looking for a standalone fantasy, because I was like, I want the feelings of a fantasy, but I do not want to commit to an entire series right now, because I just know that I don't have the attention span, and so then that's when Spinning Silver was recommended to me. And also, it was also recommended to me by someone who's a very big romantasy reader as well. So
interesting.
I went in with all of that in mind, so that's what I was expecting this book to have, to be like, oh, I'm eating it up, I'm obsessed with it, like, I'm invested in the characters.
You got done dirty.
I want a fantasy, like. So then when I was reading this book, it was not at all what I was expecting.
No.
I didn't research it at all before going into it, because I kind of like going into books blind.
We talked about this, yeah.
And then also, the point of view switches was tough. I didn't love the audiobook narrator, which, makes listening to a book tough. Yeah. It was very long.
Yep.
So that then, especially if you're listening to it as an audiobook, I find difficult to... like, keep,
it feels like a 600-page book,
engaged.
And it's less than 500 pages.
Yes, it feels like a 600 book. When you told me that it was
480 pages.
480 pages, I was genuinely surprised. I would have gone for, like, 620, if I were to guess. So I'm very surprised by that. So it was just, like, a lot of things that all came together to that I just didn't enjoy it. Like, all of the negative things I have to say about it are pretty surface level, but it was not eat it up, I'm staying up until 2 a.m. to read it.
This is what 682 pages look like. Is this big.
Yeah. I would have assumed that it was a huge
It felt like about this big, which is, I was close, 590.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
It felt like it would have been about this big if it was... And this is regular type. This is Discovery of Witches, by the way, which I do highly recommend. That's a whole other topic. It's one of those ones where it's like, if you like Twilight but want an actual, like, likable main character and more interesting world building and also time travel. Second book is straight up a historical romance. Fun fact.
Do you like time travel?
Second book is straight up a historical romance taking place in the Elizabethan England. Highly recommend that. But, like, just for context. That's about how big that is. And it felt like a longer book than it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, by the end, I was dragging my way through it a little bit. I stand by. For me, 5 out of 5 stars. It is a really specific vibe, which is, if you like high fantasy, and you want something easier than high fantasy, it is a good thing to go for. If you have read a lot of more contemporary fantasy, like Little Thieves is an excellent book, which a girl who was who's like the 13th child, and her mom like abandoned her on a winter's night. So the goddesses of death and fortune like adopt her and are her co-parent. It's great.
Sounds really good.
And
I like a high fantasy, so I think I was also disappointed by
it's not
the
a true
lack
high fantasy
of world building. Like it said that there was all this world, but they didn't really
go into it.
It didn't go into it, and I was like, I wanted that world building more than like the story tiptoeing around.
That's what I mean. I feel like you kind of got done dirty because
I just got done dirty. Mm-hmm.
It is straight up. It's a fairy tale.
Yeah. And I was wanting, like, a high fantasy.
If someone marketed that book as anything other than fairy tale, they're stupid and they're an idiot. And quite frankly,
I wouldn't go that far, but I will definitely make sure to ask questions before I take more recommendations.
Yeah, respectfully, it's to also be 100% clear, I know that we tend to have different reading styles in the first place.
Yes.
Like, you go for a lot more contemporary fiction. You go for a lot of romances, specifically. Contemporary romances in particular. Respectfully, a lot of them are very book talk books.
Yeah.
a lot of the ones that I end up reading, like, my reading list this year has been just ongoing, and I've been making a really broad effort to get to, I don't want to say read more serious books, because it's not fair, or what I'm doing. They are all fiction. I have not read a nonfiction book this year. I want to make that super clear. I downloaded a book about The Daily Show because I was told it was really interesting and good, an interesting look into, like, production. When you check out books on Libby, it's there for 3 weeks. I did not open it a single time in that 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, to be 100% fair, when I say more serious,
need, like, multiple close friends to give a glowing review of a nonfiction book, like, 10 times before I will pick it up.
I think the last nonfiction book that I read was I'm Glad My Mom Died.
I did also read that, yes.
Great book.
Fantastic book.
Amazing audiobook. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my god, that got me. Also, it's a memoir. It's not even, not to be a bitch about it, it's not even real nonfiction. It's a memoir.
Yeah.
So, I want to put that big caveat out there when I say more serious books. That's a really personal distinction. I mean, like, not Sarah J. Maas.
Yes.
to be super clear.
Not, like, beginner fantasy.
Yeah.
Not intro. Yes.
Which I have a lot of hot takes on. Like, I need to stop seeing people recommend Zodiac Academy. I got a chapter and I was like, so we just don't have any standards for what a writer is these days.
I've never read it, but my hairstylist read them, but she was telling me about it.
Okay.
And she was like, yeah, I read them, and, like, she was like, I ate them up. They're terrible, but I ate them up. But she's like, I got to, like, book 4, because aren't there, like, 15 of them?
There's, like, 15.
Yeah, no, crazy. So she was like, I got to, like, book 4, and I couldn't be bothered anymore, but I guess another one of her clients reads all of them, so she's like, yeah, I just have her tell me what it's about, and I call that a day. I was like, honestly, so fair. She's like, yeah, I just catch up through her about what's going on, because I cannot be bothered to
I'm
read
actually so fucking
15
mad
books
about that
in a
series.
series.
I keep seeing, like, randomly, it'll be like these, like, 'cause at the same time, I'm, like, trying to do...
I haven't seen anyone talk about Zodiac Academy in, like, 3 years.
I keep seeing random recommendations.
Really?
And also, because there's more series that exist within the world of Zodiac Academy, it turns out.
Really?
And I got, like, guess. There was one where it was like, she's a lion shifter, and he's, like, wolf shifter. And I'm like, okay, it's like a mafia thing, and also they're, like, werewolves. It's in the Zodiac Academy universe. I'm not reading this. Because the writing's going to be terrible. I'm not reading this.
I'm just not doing it.
But this has happened, like, twice.
Maybe I need to read the Zodiac Academy and then we can talk about it. Should we buddy read it and talk about it?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. I think we need to wrap this up because we can go on forever.
Oh my god.
Cheers. To Zodiac Academy.
To competent writers.
Cheers.
Say whatever you want about Spinning Silver. It is well written and you really...
Well, I wouldn't say it's a bad book.
Correct.
It just didn't do it for me.
It's a really specific kind of book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All criticism is valid.
I also think that if I was in the right headspace and knew more about the book going into it, I would have enjoyed it more. I don't think it would have been, like, a standout book for me because it just didn't have, like, the action that I prefer in my fantasy books. But I think that if I knew what I was getting myself into, I would have preferred it more. And also definitely just read it physically and not audiobooked it. Because that was quite distracting.
5 out of 5 stars. Couldn't recommend more highly. I loved it.
3 stars. Recommend, but with
you
the
need
caveat.
the right headspace.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do not recommend the audiobook.
Loved it. Audiobook was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Cheers to not diverse reading.
Cheers to Divergent, my Veronica Ross.
And cheers to Allegiant. Fuck it.
Hey,
cheers to marrying your dead significant other's best friend.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Bye.